Hey comrades, what's up? Hope you're all doing well. We're here to talk about Nikke Chapter 3 Comeback, which is where we get Marian to come back. I think it's the idea, right? So in Chapter 12 a couple weeks ago, we talked about at the end there how the three CEOs plus Anderson decided we were going to make this all-out assault on the mini fake arc the Raptors were putting together to try to draw Modernia out, and then we were going to have the opportunity. Then the commander, we're going to have an opportunity to try to win her back and get her to come back to our side, because we already proved that we could kind of do that, and we got the Vapis bullet destroyer nanomachines, see if we can convert a heretic from being under the Rapture thumb, which would be great for everybody. And so everyone was like, cool, let's do that. So this immediately starts immediately. So we start off and we just kind of get a recap. Cafe Sweetie and Absolute will attack and kill all the Raptures around the area until the base gets blown up. Obviously Mattis is not going to be a part of this because they got corrupted and they're in cold storage right now. So then when Modernia shows up, we're going to go ahead and rock on in, and it's ready to go, let's do this. All right, so some time goes by and the counters are just sitting around conserving their firepower so that we can get Modernia. And it's hey, why don't we run around and help out? And it's well, we don't want to get surprised, we don't want to be out on our back foot or anything. And then finally she shows up. She's located, and it's oh, there's Modernia, blow it. So then the whole thing gets blown up, and then she's oh, my home, that sucks. And then Absolute's right there to start fighting with her. So they start fighting with her, and then Shifty starts calling in commands for us. She's all right, phase 2 start, go, go, go. Clear the way for the commando squad. And so at that point, we head off to save Marian, and we try to push through, but there's too many Raptors. And then all of a sudden, boom! This giant fucking train comes blowing through, and it's Infinity Rail. Infinity Rail is the Nikke squad that runs the AZX train, and usually their whole mission is to guard the train system in the Ark, because there was a terrorist attack at some point. And in the next week's video, we're going to go over their bond stories for Diesel, Soline, and Brid. Anyway, so this train, this AZX train, is especially made for battle. It's a mag line specifically for the surface to just get people around and to ram things, whatever. But this is the first time it's ever been used. So Brid, who's the driver, we're on this train. After it slams and starts clearing away, we hop on in and hang out with Diesel and Soline and Brid. And we slam into a tyrant, kills it, and just keeps on fucking going. And then we're wow, this is really strong. How is it able to do all this? And Diesel's oh, hey, it's made of 30% Gotsium. Sure, okie dokie. And then all of a sudden the train gets slammed, and it's the fuck is that? And it's a Rapture train. What the fuck? So the Rapture's got a train too. So it's a train off. And I'm damn, this game is so fucking awesome. And this boss is awful. When I remember when I first played against it, and when I played again on hard mode, I was god damn, this thing is so fucking strong. But it's fun. And so we end up killing that. We blast it away, but the AZX is damaged enough that it can't make a turn. So now it's starting to go away from where Modernia is at. So they are able to kind of slow the train down enough so that we're able to roll on out of there. And we're you guys gonna be okay? And they're yeah, we'll be okay. You're about 2 kilometers away from Marian at this point, so start running, and you'll be able to hang on. And as we jump out of the train, Rappy grabs us, holds us tight, and then we roll out. And Infinity Rail is going to fix the train and take it back to the Ark. So we keep moving, and as we get a little bit closer, Chatterbox shows up, right? That motherfucker. And so it's all right, fucking time to fight this guy. And so things are going pretty good. And then he's oh, yeah, I can keep going all day, something. And we're oh, yeah, Snow White. And then it's bam! And then she's hey, that was supposed to be an ambush. Why are you calling my name out? And Chatterbox's the fuck? And he starts powering up. And so Snow White's I got this. Just get out of here. And I don't know if we can. He's getting real strong, and it looks like we're gonna have to stay and fight because he's not gonna let us sneak out of here. But then Sugar comes in and smashes into Chatterbox with her motorcycle. And this is the most serious Sugar you will ever see in this game. So after, it's Cafe Sweetie, so that's why she's here. So she smashes into Chatterbox, throwing him off from his game, and then Snow White and her fist bump because her bike's cool. And we hop on, all four of us. And that's Snow White. She stays back to kill Chatterbox. And we're is there going to be enough room on your tiny little motorcycle for all of us? And she's yeah, there's plenty. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And it's okay. So then Sugar blasts us forward in her motorcycle, but eventually she runs out of gas about 300 meters before we get to Modernia. And so we got to hoof the rest of the way. And then Sugar's let's see. Oh, then Sugar's why? What? Or Ains is why? What's with this? Why is all the assistance? What's with the help? Why is everyone wanting to do this? And then Sugar's are you guys just following orders? And then Sugar's nah, man, we all want to help. We all want to see this thing go. If we can get a heretic to transform over, that'd be great. And destroying Raptures, it's one step further to us getting on the surface. And then it's the least insane thing Sugar has ever seen. And then she tells Ainz straight to her face, she's like, everyone agreed to this mission. We're all hoping for a miracle, so go make the miracle happen. We all believe in you. And it's like, oh, that's so sweet. And she's like, help us take the world back. And it's like, nice. So we go, and we get to Modernia and trade out with Absolute, who's been holding her at bay this whole time. Modernia then mentions having some difficulty with them, but that she would eventually beat them. And then we start calling out to her, calling her Marian, trying to get her to remember, tell her we're here, that we're the commander. She starts fighting it, and then Shifty's like, all right, the counters are there. It's time for the final phase. Use Vapus. And we go to like shoot her with it, but we kind of hesitate a little bit, and so Marian starts the battle. And after we blast her pretty good, blow off like her mask and stuff, she's like, oh, commander, something, something. And she pretends to be back, but obviously she's just being tricksy. And Rappy even calls her on it. And then Modernia hits Rappy with the tentacle and then approaches us. And we go to shoot her again. But after some back and forth, we're finally able to fire at her, right? There's a whole like cute little scene. But then, she caught the bullet in her teeth. God damn. And spits it out. And then she hits us with the tentacle. And it's like, fuck. And then Rappy is like, activate Red Hood mode. And you're like, what the fuck? And at that point, she changes her hair color. It goes from like kind of like an auburn to like a bright red. And then she pulls a tentacle out of her stomach and launches it at Moderna's head, like bashing her like helmet off and like cutting up her face real good. And then she's like, everyone shoot at the head. And so the counters all start blasting away at her head, and it finally knocks some sense into her. Like literally, it's like Marian like wakes up and she's like, what? And she sees the splitting and she's like, help! We have to stop this. And she goes and like they're like patching the commander up and healing him and whatnot. And then there's like a screech in the air. And Snow White's like, look out! And we all look up and it's like the head of Chatterbox. It's just like flying at Modernia or Marian at this point. And the counters turn to like blast at him and blast. But like he lands right on Marian's like head. Like he bites down on it essentially. And he like inserts corruption directly into like her brain, even though like her nanomachines are destroyed at this point because of like the Vapus. And a lot of that doesn't make sense at this point, and I don't know if it's mistranslation, so I'm going to give you like spoiler for like a future thing. We find out that the blood of our blood, the commander's blood, is Vapus. Like it destroys nanomachines when it touches things, and so the fact that we bled all over her, like essentially destroy, even though the bullet missed, that our blood was able to destroy the the nymph inside her that was corrupted. But we find out later from Mana, and we don't find out right here, but that when Chatterbox got on him, he was able to like insert directly into like her programming, like the corruption, which is like a whole different thing. So at this point, she starts turning back into like being corrupted, not even being like a heretic or anything. And so Rappy knocks her out with a stun bullets, and then Ainz just like fucking kicks the shit out of Chatterbox's head, almost completely destroying it when Neon like pulls her off. And then Snow White rolls up and Ainz punches her, chews her out. Snow White's like feels really bad, apologizes. Shifty's like freaking the fuck out. She's like, I don't know if this is a success or failure. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, we don't know either. And it's like, let's just get Modernia back to the Ark. And so we do. And then we wake up in the hospital. We're very touch and go. Pepper and Mary, if you remember from some previous Bond stories, they're the Seraphim squad. They're the ones they're like the nurse and the doctor squad. We haven't really talked about them. We'll get to them someday, I'm sure. They're trying to figure out what our blood type is because we've lost a lot of blood. And then Anderson like rolls on in there. Like he doesn't just like, hey guys, what's going on? He's like rolls on in there and he's like, he's like, don't look for those records. Just transfuse his blood with mine. And they're like, what? And he's like, just do it. And so then we wake up a little bit later and he's just standing there and he shows us his arm where he's got the blood transfusion. And he explains that the two of us, him and I, the commander, have an extremely rare blood type. So rare that they do not keep a record of it. Because if there was a record, people would find us and try to use it to like take advantage, make money, and do whatever they need to do. And then you get the choice of being like, are you my dad? Or you're my brother. So I always do dad because it cracks me up. It's like, we're like, daddy? And he's like, no, it's nothing like that. Stop being so dramatic. He's like, I'm a single guy. I don't have any kids. He's like, anyway, you need to go to Marian right now. And so he gets us drugged up on narcotics so much that we were able to like get out of bed and like meander over to where Ingrid and Mana are trying to figure out what to do with Modernia. And at this point, this is where we find out that the nymph is gone, that we successfully got rid of it, but that Chatterbox physically inserted corruption into her with like her head attack. And so now we have two choices because now the corruption isn't in the nymph because there's no nymph. It's like built into like the hardware essentially or directly into her brain. And so there's two choices. There's only two things we can do. We can do a complete mind wipe so that she'll be back to being like a baby. Like she won't even be able to speak or like really walk until she's trained to do all these things. Like a complete mind wipe of everything in her past. And Anderson gets mad that this even brought up and he seems to be taking it like real personally. And then Ingrid and him like argue back and forth about it, and then finally she gets him to shut the fuck up. And then it's like, or we have to kill her. We have to incinerate her like immediately before she becomes completely corrupted. And so we're finally like, all right, we agree. And since she's like belongs to us, right? She was part of our squad originally, even before the counters. So we have to make the approval for all this stuff. And so we sign all the paperwork and stuff. And then later on, Anderson's given us the report. The counters are good. They're waiting for us. Marian's being worked on. Chatterbox got put into an Atlas cube. And an Atlas cube are supposed to be these things that are like indestructible. They're made of like the Godseum as well. And so he's being examined and studied and all that stuff. And the whole mission is considered to be a success. And so now it's time for us to to heal up and get some rest. And then while this is going on, meanwhile, over at the outpost, Nina and Ions are trying to cool Rappy down. Like apparently this transformation, she's transformed back from like her Red Hood mode, and she's like burning up, and so they're trying to put ice on her and stuff. And she's like, no, it's fine. I always come down from after the transformation. And then they're like, so what the fuck happened? And she's like, I'm not going to tell you. And she's like, it happens. It's not a big deal. And they're about to get into a huge argument when Mary comes in, and she's pushing in a special hospital bed with us in it and all this like medical equipment and stuff. And then we're like, hey, what's up, girls? And Ions is like, get the fuck back to the hospital. And we're like, no, Marian's coming here. We need to be here when she gets here. And so they set up my room, or the commander's room, to be like the hospital room or whatever, and we kind of get settled in. And we like Neon and Ions head out to get some supplies, and Rappy's like, hey, you go to sleep. I'll get you up when she gets here. And then we wake up a little bit later with the bed tilted, and all the girls are like sleeping. Like Neon and Ions are sleeping with their heads on our bed, which is like tipping it over because obviously they're super heavy machines. And then Rappy's like sleeping nearby as well. So at this point we decide to get up, and as we're getting up, they wake up and they like, hey, no, you need to get back in bed and rest some more. At that point, we get a message from Ingrid, and it's that Marian's on her way. And so she arrives because she's like complete memory wipe. The counters reintroduce themselves, aside from Neon, who you never met her in the first place. And then after everyone introduces themselves, she just starts grunting because she doesn't know how to speak yet. But she says Commander, and she comes and gives us a hug because she does remember that for some reason. And it's kind of like, that's the miracle. Like Ingrid's like, I don't know. She knows your name. She knows her name. And she knows that you're her commander. And so she, is still in love with you. That's all though. And then Ingrid makes some comment about the soul not being in the brain and shrugs and wanders off. And then her and Rappy head off to talk about, what just happened, obviously. So then Ions tries to get Marian to call her Mighty Ions, and instead she calls her Tyan, which is kind of adorable and sad at the same time. Meanwhile, away from all prying ears, Ingrid is like, so, Red Hood? And Rappy's like, yeah, it was only for a few seconds. And then they talk about how like a couple of mass-produced Nikkes who were nearby saw the transformation, but they got their mind. They took care of that problem. They might wipe their minds. And then Ingrid's like, so did Red Hood say anything this time? And Rappy's like, yes, destroy the Ark. Da-da-da-da. And that's the end of chapter 13. So join me again in a couple weeks for chapter 14, or next week for... God, what is next week? Oh, it's the 777s. You get the Bunny Girls, Blanc and Noir, along with we're gonna do Infinity Rail. But yeah, cool. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.